At this point in life, when you become a college student and beyond, when you actually start having to pay for software, you start to wonder, you have to pay licensing fees to Microsoft or Microsoft Office. Maybe you have to pay, if you're a programmer, you have to pay for Visual Studio, or maybe if you are a web designer, you might buy servers from other companies. You might, if you use Photoshop before, you know that the service pack costs a lot of money. If you work with Flash, CS5 is like $500. There are open source alternatives that exist. They are out there. They're maybe, I won't argue that they are better. I won't argue that they are just as good, because a lot of people like to get angry at me when I say that. They are alternatives to the software that you normally would have to buy, and they can still be used just as good. My presentation today was prepared using only open source software. Anyway, so my thesis is essentially that open source software is out there and is useful because of the fact that it's free, because of the fact that it is available, and the fact that it's compatible with absolutely everything. Open source software is out there. Open source software has become like a thing that a lot of people don't normally know about. A lot of people do know about. A lot of people use open source software without even knowing that they use it. How many people use out there Firefox and Chrome? Show of hands. Both those programs are open source software programmed by hackers and programmers in their spare time while also maintaining full-time jobs. The reason why it is updated constantly is because programmers are continually making updates to it, constantly releasing new versions. So Firefox and Chrome are two really good examples of open source software. How many of you, if you are like in audio editing, like how many of you use Audacity? One person. Someone else. Audacity is an open source program that is used to record software and record audio and edit audio. I use it to make ringtones. A lot of people use it for other stuff like making music, blending music. Some people can even use it to make movies. Another open source alternative, this is an alternative to Blackboard that not a lot of people know about, but some schools, some universities, some school districts are actually starting to get familiar with and starting to use because it is open source. Another, and more importantly, open source alternative, an alternative to Microsoft Windows and the Apple OS, which is Linux. There are many distributions of Linux out there with the right layers that you can install, which the layers are also open source. You can also run anything you want on Linux. And Linux is designed to run on low-level machines, and that's why it's so efficient. A lot of people have taken to note the fact that open source software is free, it's efficient, it works just as well, and it doesn't require that much of an engine. So there are school counties that are starting to take this message, and from the THE Journal, the article Prepare for Impacts, I will read an excerpt where someone is describing how the school district is saving a lot of money just by switching to open source software. Owen shares this first-hand example of open source payoff. He says that he and his staff at Rainbridge Island School District saved the district hundreds of thousands of dollars by installing and implementing a number of software alternatives, including OpenOffice, the open source alternative to Microsoft Office. I guarantee you that open source software is free. The GNU Public License does say that it is intended to guarantee your freedom to share and change all versions of a program to make sure that it remains free software for all its users. There are gaming companies out there that actually are starting to use a very interesting open source software. It's a video codec or audio codec called OGG Vorbis. A lot of gaming companies are now starting to implement that into their music because of the fact that they don't have to pay licensing fees to the guys who made MP3. So, if you ever want to check out a video game and look at the credits, they might say they use OGG Vorbis. A lot of people are starting to use that a lot more often. The only reason why musicians nowadays don't use OGG Vorbis yet is because a lot of computers still can't run it. In fact, a lot of software that actually uses OGG already have codec implemented inside their software. Anyway, open source software is out there, it's available. If you haven't tried open source software before, try either Firefox or Chrome, it's free. Just as an example.